on the Sabbath day. When he said this, all the opponents were put to shame, and the entire crowd was rejoicing at all the wonderful things that he was doing. The Gospel according to Christ.
Praise to Christ, the Lord.
I now call on Sis Diandra Baptiste to bring us today's sermon.
I sat across there and I looked across at the young people and I said, our brother has the support of his sisters. Behind every successful man, there's a strong woman. And I want to thank them for their commitment to being here to serve, and especially to Destiny Didi for doing it so well. I said to her yesterday when we met, you should come with me to other congregations. Come and lead so that you can also uplift, not only here in St. George's, but wherever we are called to serve. So we give God thanks for all of them, for all the ladies, Iffy and every one of you, even those who are not here. And Asa, we lift up in prayers as well, because we know we need them as much as they need us. Let us go to God and pray. Almighty God, we come now before you, not just to receive your word, but to be your word. Speak to us, O God, clearly. Speak to us, O God, where we may understand and respond positively to you, O God, so that others may experience you through us and you may be glorified. So may the words of my mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. O Lord, you are our rock and our redeemer. Amen. Luke 13, verse 10 to 17. It's familiar for me. I'm sure for most of us. I read it the first time and I said, I know this. I read it the second time and I said, oh, wow, there's something here. There's something there. I read it the third time and I said, I have to read it again. And that's how God moves and works in our lives. He will take the same thing that we have, the same thing that we know, the same thing that we think we understand, and make it new. That's what he does even with the life that we have. Just as Paul lived a life of the same body, and he was able to use that body to do something new. And so when we look at the scripture today, it's a familiar passage of a woman bent over for 18 long years. And Jesus says to her, stand up straight. And I can relate to this, and I'm sure you can. My parents, my teachers, I even had one or two persons here say to me, sit up straight, stand up straight. And I'm sure we know this command. It's all too familiar. And here Jesus says the same thing to this woman to stand up straight. And immediately she did. Now in this text today, I want to present three things with many things. The first is this: when life bends you out of shape, when life bends you out of shape, the woman's condition, she was bent out of shape. For 18 long years, she had this physical deformity. deformity, disability, challenge. And we can imagine her living through this, her experience for 18 long years, bent over in a manner like this. By the way, I saw Uncle Benny like this, and he said to me, he's more comfortable like this outside a while ago. So I know some of us are going through our own aches and pains and back problems, and then some of us can stand up straight, erect. Our spines are upright. No issues with the physical for some of us. But life bends us out of shape. And sometimes I think the worst time to be bent out of shape is when you can't see it. You understand me? When you cannot see that you're bent out of shape. And it gets worse when we try to cover it up. So some of us may be physically straight here right now, but we come all bent, crooked. And we try to cover up. We look great on the outside, but we're broken on the inside. We come to church and we fake it very well. We put on all the makeup we can put on. We put on the best shoe, the most expensive watch, the glamorous outfit, but we're broken inside. And we're masking it up. I'm not telling you to go about looking like if somebody needs to feel sorry for you. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying when you think of brokenness and being bent over, don't think about it in the physical sense only. You have to start thinking about it mentally as well as spiritually. You know, I met someone with a lot of makeup and dressed well. I mean, what I mean, well, colors, everything on point, from the eyebrows, from the eye makeup, shadow, thank you, to the shoes in her feet. And when I listened to her story of her child who literally had a physical impairment, suddenly she started to think it was something spiritual and she needed prayers for it. Because she couldn't understand this child was born normal, and when she hit secondary school, there was an incident that took place, and after that incident, the child's foot literally turned this way. And when I looked at this woman, and she told me all that this child was going through with, wanted to commit suicide, cutting up herself, being laid up in bed for all these things, and she having to deal with her and then come to work, I could never imagine. Because here's a woman in front of me, her appearance is fantastic. On point, as young people would say. But then she was broken inside because of what she had to deal with her child. So we come here and we may look good and feel standing upright. But we are something in some circumstances bending us out of shape. Someone may ask, how do you know when you're bent out of shape? How do you know when you're bent out of shape? So I tried this. I went like this, and all I can see is the dirty ground. When you're bent out of shape, all you can see is all the bad things. All your focus is on is the negative things. I can't see. I can't see the sunset. I can't see the light. And I'm talking about in a spiritual sense. When we bend out of shape, what we see is all the negative things, all the bad circumstances, all the challenges, all the things that are going wrong in our lives. And we cannot see God's light. That's how we know we bent out of shape. You see, for that woman, at that point, she see not what she was going through, but where she was going to. She see not what she was going through, but where she was going through. And that's significant about her. That is one of the significant things. She goes to the right place. The right place was to come to the house of the Lord. And even if she was doing it for years, she kept it. I'm going to the house of the Lord, for there is something that I can find there. And I know there may be persons who have been, maybe they're online right now and you're thinking, I don't have to come to church. I don't have to come to the house of the Lord. I can get it right here as I sit home. But I tell you this, the experience we get here as believers together, you don't get it at home. Because when somebody say Hallelujah, somebody else say Hallelujah. And we work in this together. So you have to be in the right place. The psalmist says, I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. And so some people stay away. But this woman was going to the house of the Lord. You know what I thought about 18 long years? Brother Benny, I'm calling your name again, maybe because I visited you recently. I know you're a scientist and the maths, and when I see all the things that Brother Benny makes and so on, I'm like, up to yesterday practicing, I said, boy, look at that. So much maths. 18 long years. Let's do the maths. Young people, I know you have your devices. How many months is in 18 long years? So Sister Edith said 1,000 and some, you're close there. It's in the thousands for sure. That actually is the days. The days are in the thousands. The years are in the hundred. The months are 216 months.
180 plus 36. That's how I always do maths.
That's how you do math for the chairman?
Yeah, 80 by 10 plus 2 by 18.
Excellent! Wow! Well, you had to teach some of us, man. I have to do maths over, you know. I love it, but you didn't love me that much. So 216 months and 6,570 days of being bent over. That's a long time. Some of us as women, we carry a child for 9 months. I need to get it out. 9 months. And this woman had 216 months of being bent over. It's a long time. A long time to wait and see and to be challenged. Long suffering to see what her God can do for her. And she goes to the right place. Where does our help come from? Our help cometh from the Lord. Amen. Don't let your circumstances keep you from moving. Your blessings may be on that road. Sometimes because of what we're going through, we'd rather stay here. It's comfortable here than to move this way, than to move that way. And the Spirit says we got to move. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. It doesn't happen like that. We have to be moving where the Spirit says to move. Because our blessing might just be over there. Don't let people keep you stuck where you are. You know, some of you know me. So. That's how I went. Let's be honest. That's right. And I remember when I was I used to get so many comments. When I went to school, they used to call me Square One. If you know Alison Hines, you know why they call me Square One. They called me also, but that didn't put me out. I was a Ross. That didn't put me out. And so I went through years of persons telling me about my size. And that is not what made me do the opposite. It was simply meeting the right people at the right place. I went to visit somebody who had an injury. And they looked at me and they said something I'll never forget. And that changed my life. No, it wasn't cancer. That changed my life. And so sometimes when people ridicule you and tell you things, you can't stop there. You have to know the right people and go to the right places to receive your blessing, to receive the change, to make a difference. Many leaders and people in the synagogue must have ostracized that woman. I can imagine. When you had a physical impairment in those days, it's like being in this place here and they put you in the back of the vestry to listen. Because you need to keep away. You're going to infect them. Even if it's something that doesn't infect. You're going to put blemish and spoil it and tarnish it. And so you can imagine how she was treated, bent over like this and unable to do anything much in relation to praising and worshiping and jumping and singing and clapping and everything else in the house of the Lord. And the leaders and so was just comfortable. That's where she needs to be. She has to know her place. Jesus said something to that woman. But before we can get there, I want to remind us of what that woman did. And what that woman did is that she made sure she was present. She possibly knew that Jesus was there. It's possible she knew Jesus was going to be at that synagogue or he was at that synagogue. She went. Despite whatever anybody else says, she was going where the Spirit led her. She was going to the place that probably didn't welcome her. That probably didn't even want her there, but they just accepted it. And sometimes, when I think about this, it teaches us that sometimes the people who are closest to us are the ones who are against us. It can be even in this church. It's not sometimes the workplace, it's not your community. It's sometimes the people closest to us who hurt us, who bring us down. And no matter how many haters she had all around her, Jesus is here. That's what she knew. And she knew, as the Bible teaches us, the Lord prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. And if you have faith like that, you ain't seeing your enemies, but you see in victory in Jesus. So, when life bends you out to shape, you got to keep your eyes focused on the path where Jesus is calling you and where he wants to bless you. You got to go there to be experienced a change. The next thing I want to present to us is when Jesus breaks the rules, we're never the same. When Jesus breaks the rules, we're never the same. I remember Reverend Wesley preached the Crazy Christian. Reverend Wesley Daniel, crazy Christian, and he addressed Jesus as crazy for what he was doing. Jesus was breaking rules. I know some of us have standards. Do it so, don't do it this way. Leave it right there. No, we don't do it any other time but that time. No, we usually take that amount and nothing else. No, we can't have that person. Because so and so. Or the Constitution says this. And you know what we do? We hindering the work of God. Because we create barriers. I'm not saying the law is bad enough. Young people ain't telling me, go and break the rules. But sometimes, when we know God is calling us to a path to receive more and to do more and to be blessed, we got to get over those barriers. We got to get over those barriers and those familiar things, those standards that we tend to think is what is keeping things right. was righteous. In that sense, what I'm talking about. But he changed it. And the point I'm making, the law, or the laws and the rules and the standards we have to go back and think and see where they're keeping back from God's grace and God's mercy overflowing. Because we have to be careful that we don't become, as a church, as a people, as a person, a stumbling block to God's blessings. And that's what the leaders of the synagogue were like. They were like a stumbling block. They knew to tell Jesus, but Jesus, look, you're doing it on the Sabbath. But work is for 6 days, not on the Sabbath. But they didn't see their hypocrisy. Jesus said something first, then laid hands on her, then she was made straight. I want to say that again. Jesus said something to her, then laid hands, then she was made straight. Is Jesus saying something to us today? Has he touched us in any way? And have we changed? That's what we need to ask ourselves. Some of us have been doing the same thing over and over. Some of us have been just confined in our own little space. I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. I'm thinking about this person here. I'm thinking about what they will say, and I'm not sure. And Jesus is saying, forget all about that. Because I am in this place. And when I am here, and when you receive me, and when you listen to me, and when I touch you, you're never the same. And if you're the same like you were 18, 15, 10, 20 years ago, then we need to go back and figure out what's wrong. We need to go back and figure out what's wrong. I came down here today for 2 reasons. 1, up there is a bit restricted now. And 2, there's a brother in this chapel here this morning who said, preachers need to come down. And it's so true. The perspective is different. And change is important if we want to meet people and reach people where they are. Change is important if we need to see the work of God go forward. Change is important if you want to see God turn things around in our lives. And so it's important for us to move from here to here. And that's what that woman did. She didn't see nothing else but Jesus telling her to move. Come on to me. Come on to me. Brothers and sisters, when Jesus touched that woman, and one pastor said that Jesus did that to set her totally free. Jesus did that not just to heal her physically from being bent over, but he healed her mind as well, and her spirit. Look at what happened to her mind, body, and spirit. It's just not about the physical. There is no sense being in a straight body and having a bent mind and spirit. And that's how awesome our God is. He's a God of perfection and a God who completes. He didn't do it half, he didn't do it quarter. He did it whole, 360 turnaround. He touched also the crookedness of the leaders and his opponents in the synagogue. He touched their minds when he reminded them of their hypocrisy. He touched their bodies when he put them to shame. He touched their spirit even when they rejoiced, because the word of God tells us the entire crowd rejoiced. I like that song, I know my God can turn it around. I have seen my God turn it around. And we see it right here, the scripture tells us. Not 180, not 90, but a whole 360. blessings. Jesus is always willing to touch us at the center of our crookedness, being bent over. When God laid his hands, things were made straight. Isaiah 14 verse 4 and 5 says, every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill shall be made low. The uneven ground shall be leveled, and the rough places a plain. If we have a God that can do that, and if we believe in a God that can do that, what more do we want? We don't need to cover up. We don't need to pretend. Present yourself as a living sacrifice, Paul says. Holy and acceptable, just as we are. So that God can turn it around for us. And then the glory of the Lord shall be revealed. That's significant in the passage. Whenever there is a miracle or something spectacular happening in the name of God, God's glory is revealed, as the Bible tells us or teaches us. I'm sure in your life right now you can think about so many things where God's glory is revealed. You know, a couple of days ago, I was coming from the Carnage area. I was going to shelter from the rain on the tent in front of the Inland Revenue. And there was an elderly woman there, and I saw her doing something that brought back memories for me. She was kneading flour to go fish. You may know the person I'm talking about. So I said, you're doing something I've never seen anybody else done. I thought it was only my siblings and I who knew about this. She said the guys from Caribou taught her that, who comes in with the boat. And we were having a conversation. She didn't present herself as somebody who was in need or so. But then she said, I'm talking about fishing, and she said to me, I usually have a rod, but I didn't bring it because I had to collect my monies from the government. She said, I traveled all here, and I only had the bus change to come down, but I decided I had a little line in my bag, so I'm going to use it to fish. So she sat there, she's needing that flour to go and fish. So I said to her, I'll give you back the bus money to get back. And there am I looking for the coins, and there's only $120 in my purse. Perhaps it's the same 20 I found. And I said, boy, I can't make up this money to send this woman back home. So let me just give her the 20. And I gave her the 20. And when I reached my sister Charles, I remembered I had to buy fish for mommy with the $20. And you know what is interesting? Is when I been in the right place at the right time. When I stopped my sister Charles, she said to me, I have $40. I'll give you the 20 from here. And I'm sharing this, and I said, God, be glorified. Be glorified. I've had be honest with you, a very, very good vacation. I can't complain. I mean, I got COVID a second time, but I bounced back pretty well. And I said, God, be glorified. Because the first time was horrible. The second time gave me some time to reflect and to work on some art pieces that I was able to make half my salary in one day. And I said, God, be glorified. And I'm sharing this experience with you to tell you, even with that woman as well, she said, God bless you, and God is good. When things happen, when we are blessed, when God reveals His majesty and His miracles and His awesomeness, God is glorified. And if we serve a God like that, why do we worry? Why do we complain? Why are we still bent over spiritually? We need to have that personal encounter with Jesus to understand where He's leading us and where He wants to take us. I know there's some terrible illnesses. I've seen persons on their dying bed, like a couple of days ago when I saw Sister Hadley's mother and I prayed with her. And I said, Lord, reveal something to me, and He did. And He revealed a woman who was so committed. I just reflected on not the woman, the body that was in front of me. I reflected on the person I knew, able and moving mountains in her congregation. And so even in those times, God revealed things to us to strengthen our faith, to put us on the right path to receive his blessings. So as we close here, I pray that wherever we are bent over in our life, whatever situation is crippling us and making us crooked, that we will go to God and that he will speak to us and that he will touch us and he will move us in the place that we need to be and to be blessed. In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let us pray. Lord, you have shared incredible things with us. And it's because we serve an incredible God. You have taught us in this moment, oh God, that no matter how much we try to cover up and pretend, we are still in our condition of crookedness and being bent over. So, God, even as stubborn as we may be to want to remain where we are, in that whether it is a physical, spiritual, or mindset, we pray in this moment, oh God, that you will touch us. That the blood of Jesus, one drop, will change us. And that by the power of the Spirit, one breeze will blow and change us. Lord, we can't stay the same. If you're calling us, we got to move. We can't stay where we are. And so we're asking you to light that fire with your Holy Spirit to get us to move. Lord, where things are seen to be dead and drying up, where things are seen to be bent over, whether it is in the men's commission, the women's league, the youth group, the Sunday school, in leadership, in management, in our service to you individually and collectively as a church of God, where things seem to be bent over, we pray that you will give us the command